Welcome! This is the Rustic Songbird Podcast, and I'm your host, Lydia Walker. This show is for you if you're ready to learn more about the craft of songwriting and take your skills to the next level. Thanks so much for listening. Let's get started. My guest on the show today is Richard Bair. He is a great friend of mine. He's a songwriter, and we're a part of the same networking group called CSMI, which stands for Christian Songwriters Musicians International. We recently had our founder, Gene Schmidt, on the show, and I've had other CSMI artists on the show, so it's really cool to be able to share stories from the people within our group because I've heard some of your music, and we've had great conversations, and so I want to just share some of that with other people. So, Richard, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
Well, you're tuning in from Gobles, Michigan, so we've got some Michigan representation on the show. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we were driving back from Indiana this morning, and there was some snow on the highway, and it was a little hairy for a few minutes, but we got home. So
yeah, I'm glad you had a good trip and made it home safe. When this episode airs, it will be Christmas Eve, and so we're celebrating the Christmas season and celebrating Christ's coming in this season and just the peace and the joy and the hope that's found in him. And I know you just went to Indiana to see your granddaughter in a Christmas play, and I'd love for you to share some of that experience. How was it?
Well, it blew my mind. I mean, there was junior high and high school kids involved, and it's a public school in Indiana near where my daughter lives in Waterloo, Indiana. And they, a lot of the music was the traditional Christmas carols, and they kind of jammed some of them together. And in one section, they did like 13 different songs, and just bits and pieces of those songs, and then
sure.
But a lot of those songs are just talked about Jesus' birth and celebrating Christmas, and I loved every minute of it. And what I really liked is they did a little skit reenacting kind of the Charlie Brown Christmas, where he goes and picks out that puny tree, and they're laughing at him, but then he puts a bulb on it, or a decoration on it, they later say it was good. And through the whole skit, he's saying how he wonders, I just wonder, I just don't know what the true meaning of Christmas is. Well, and then the person playing Linus steps up and tells him, and reads the scriptures, and you'll find the babe wrapped in manger and swaddling clothes, and the whole story and of Jesus' birth, and then announces that that Charlie Brown is the true meaning of Christmas. And the whole place, there's like excuse me, about 500 people there probably, and they just were cheering and roaring when Linus sent that, and I just loved it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so important to remember what Christmas is all about, and there's a lot of hype around Christmas this time of year, and it's easy to get distracted and get busy, but to have those special moments really creates memories that truly matter when you think about Christ being the reason for Christmas, and we celebrate his first coming and that he's coming again. And so especially as Christians, we have so much hope, and we know that it's not an empty hope because Christ has fulfilled every prophecy in his first coming, and he's fulfilled every promise and kept every promise, and he's coming back soon. So that's the hope that we have at Christmas, that we get to share with others. And I think people are more open to it this time of year.
I believe
they
that
are seeking, and they're looking for that true joy and the peace that can only be found in Jesus.
I sit in on a couple of jam sessions that aren't necessarily Christian based or whatever. One thing I learned from other people, other musicians, how to present songs, and just by watching them, because some of them are much better than me at and either songwriting or playing the guitar. And so, I go to those, and I feel like ever since I've been doing that, I've gotten better at both songwriting and playing the guitar even. And because I taught myself, well, my brother taught me 3 chords to begin with, and when I was like 15, and I learned from there. So I kind of taught myself. And so I'm not, I never took lessons or anything, but I still learn. And
Yes, I think we're always learning.
yeah. So, and I share at those jam sessions my Christian songs, my Christmas songs that I've written, and I mean, and they're all open to it. And the other night I sang a Christmas song that we're actually going to sing at our church this coming Sunday that I wrote, and 2 guys that were sitting there just go, wow, they were just overwhelmed by the power of that.
So cool. Yeah, tell me about the Christmas song that you wrote. Which one was that?
It's called We Cry Holy, and I've got the words right here in front of me.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some of the lyrics from that.
Okay, in just a second. Now what did I do with it? It was right here in front of me. Anyway, it's kind of a bluesy sound, and it it just starts out telling the Christmas story. We 3 kings from a distant land, riding their camels through the desert sand, carrying their treasures all through the night, following a big bright star in the sky. And chorus is like, the prophets foretold his story a long time ago, and then the angels appeared in the sky and cried, holy, holy. And then today a Savior is born into this world. And there's the bridge is just, we cry holy, holy, holy. And it's just, it tells the whole story of Jesus' birth. And one verse talks about, I talk about how it's been 2,000 years since that day when the angels appeared in all their array. And then it goes on to say, now it falls to us to spread the truth with Jesus in us. We are living proof of all that our Savior came to do, to let his light shine through me and you. And but that's, it's powerful words. And
yes, that's beautiful.
Can't wait to share it this Sunday. Our worship team's going to sing it. So
awesome! How cool that they're able to use it in the service, and it's one of your originals that you've that you've written, and has the entire Christmas story in it. It's so powerful. So thanks for sharing some of the lyrics with us. And I love Christmas music, especially the traditional Christmas carols.
Right.
Because of the depth of the lyrics and how each song is so blatant about Jesus came to save the world. He's the Savior of the world, and he's the reason that we can have hope and salvation in our life. And a lot of modern worship songs don't have that element. They may focus on one attribute of God, or it might never even say the name of Jesus. But I feel like those Christmas carols are just so packed full of incredible theology.
Right.
So when you sing Joy to the World and Hark the Herald and Silent Night and songs like that, it shares the gospel in such an amazing way.
That I think it was yesterday that was the 200th anniversary of the song Silent Night.
Wow. And it's become the top favorite Christmas song of all time, I think.
Yes.
If you ask anybody what their favorite song is for Christmas, most people will say Silent Night.
Yeah.
One that just crosses language barriers. I think it was originally written in German.
Yes.
And of course, we usually sing it in English, but I learned how to sing a verse of it in German to have that original language. And I think it's so beautiful to hear a song as it was written.
Mm-hmm.
And that melody is so popular as well. Anybody that hears it knows it.
There's a John Denver album where he sings Silent Night, and he also does a verse in German.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so neat. I think it's cool to see, like, either hear it from the songwriter or like hear it in the way it was meant to be sung or way it was originally written. And of course it's been translated, but the music is just beautiful. And we actually sang that last night. I was leading for a youth group, and I had all of the students just like lock arms, and they had their arms around each other's shoulders, and they were swaying, and we were just singing together and singing strong and loud, and such a beautiful, powerful song. And that was a sweet moment.
The way the concert ended last night, they were singing some other songs, and then it led into Silent Night, and the whole crowd was supposed to sing along with the guys up on stage when they sang the first verse of Silent Night, and that was really cool.
That's awesome. I love getting the audience involved when you're singing, because it's so much more powerful when you sing all together and hear all of those voices in unison and in harmony, and there's just something special about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear more about your songwriting and kind of where you get your inspiration. So how did you get started writing songs?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home, and everybody in my family sings or plays an instrument. And my father played a euphonium, which is, if people don't know what that is, it's like a baritone horn, and it's shaped sort of like a tuba but smaller.
Oh, okay.
And he had the most beautiful tone. I mean, in my opinion, he could have played professionally. He did play in bands. He started out in the Salvation Army, and that's where he learned to play the instrument. But and then my mom and him would be singing at church on Sunday morning. We'd all be sitting in the pew, and I could hear them singing harmony. And I never really learned harmony till I started, being on worship teams, and which actually, as soon as I could play guitar, at the age of 15, maybe 16 probably, I was asked by the church I was going to help lead worship. So I've been on worship teams and in choirs ever since I was a teenager. And the first song I wrote was just I was at like a Christian retreat, and we had some time to ourselves to contemplate or whatever. I just wrote this little song about called Just for You, and it talks about God's creation and the beauty of it and how he did that just for us. And then probably the next one I did was a Jewish sounding song. I put music to Psalm 150, and in that church where I used to attend and sing that song, they still sing that song today, and that was, a long time ago when I wrote.
That's awesome. How cool to be able to share it with your worship team in your church. I think that's such a great ministry, to use it where you're at, and to be able to serve on a worship team is great experience as far as, like you said, learning harmony and getting better at your instrument, being on stage, and just having that outlet of volunteering and ministering to people. And I think that is great as a musician and as a songwriter too. It's neat to be able to share your songs and have other musicians play along. How fun is that?
Yeah, that's always great. Hear someone else playing along with you. When I sing it at home by myself, but when I get to play it with like the worship team or something, and they're all just adding things that I didn't even think of. It makes it so much better. Yeah.
I agree. People will hear your song and have inspiration for other parts, or how they can add in, and it just makes it even better. I think it's great. to
I've
include other people and play together.
I've tried to put a lot of music to different psalms, and a lot of the songs, worship songs I've written, have come right out of the Word of God. And I've several years ago, I found out about a songwriting group not too far from me, and it's actually called the Chili Pepper Songwriting Group. Well, it's not really a Christian group, but it's just for songwriters. Anybody who come and sing their songs, and so I do that quite often, and get to hear other songwriters share their songs, and I get to share mine. And you know, I've written some that aren't necessarily Christian, but you know, like I tried to write a song that Ray Stevens would write. You know, so it was really goofy about this guy that starts out at a racetrack, and well, I don't want to go into the whole story. This really goofy song. It's just
yeah. I think it's good to have that creative outlet where you can do different styles and different types of songs, and you never know what's going to come out. Right. But it's, you know, it's fun to try different styles, even if you have a main style. It's good to branch out sometimes and try something different. So,
unfortunately for the people around us, as a songwriter, something they say or do could end up in a song.
That's true.
And I've written this song about my wife that I can't sing just anywhere. I just maybe around family or something I could sing it, because it's goofy and it's about her and it's really exaggerated, and so she'll give me permission to sing it maybe around certain people, but there's some places she would say, "Don't sing that," you know.
Yeah, and you wrote a song for your kids too. Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, that one's. I just one way I write songs. Probably the main way that I write songs is I'll be playing my guitar and come up with a melody, and I came up with this pretty melody, and then I just started to write. Well, what popped in my head at first was, this sounds like this could be another song for my wife. I've written several love songs for her, but then my daughter Gretchen popped in my head, and I started thinking about my sons, and then so right away I just started thinking of them, and then reminiscing about, you know, like the first verse starts out, "It seems like yesterday your kids were young and you were running around saying, 'Daddy, pick me up.' And I said, I dare all three of you to get me to the ground, and you'd even yell to Mommy, help get Daddy down. And I would chase and tease and tickle till you said, please. And we'd laugh, we'd cry, oh me, oh my, where has the time gone?" And that's what it's about. It's just about
that's good.
my time with them. And part of it talks about how I knew that I failed at times. I was too hard, but I always loved my kids and wanted the very best for them. And then one part talks about, it says, you each grew up, it seemed like overnight. And there were times that I thought I could lose each one of you, which is very true. But I prayed I wasn't right, and they've turned out great. So our prayers were answered, and just sing this song, and people get tears in their eyes.
Yeah, so many people can relate as parents, and I think it's really special to have that for your kids now to listen to.
Yeah.
And have that message for them.
Yeah, I posted it on Facebook and highlighted their names, and I waited to see when each one saw it, and my daughter said something about, thanks, Dad, for making me cry, you know.
Sometimes the best songs make us cry, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
neat, though, to be able to write a song for a certain person, like a love song for your wife or a special song for your kids, or to be able to write a song specifically for a group like your church
Right.
is so cool. And so I think songwriters have so many opportunities to say things in a different way or just to make it personal. And it may
Right.
not be a song that the whole world hears, but it's special in that moment or for that person.
Yeah. And I've had over the years, I've attended different churches, and so I've been on different worship teams or in choirs, or uh, been involved in different ministries, like um, in missions. One church was really big in missions, and we'd go on mission trips from time to time. I was able to go on 6 different mission trips to different countries, and that was really eye-opening. Every time we did that, we go to try to help bless them and serve them, but of course, we come back totally blessed by them and changed. And uh, when I could, I would take a guitar with me and share some of my music on during some of the mission trips I was on. Um, and I've also been involved in jail ministry um, in a church that I previously went to, and got to not only go to like the Kalamazoo County Jail and sing. My friend would preach and I would sing, and then he also went to a prison in Coldwater, and he would preach and I would sing. And I mean, at that prison there'd be like 100 guys in the room, like belting out at the top of their lungs, um, worship songs, and get emotional thinking about that.
Yeah, that's powerful.
I mean, just to see them singing like that. And there's times I have to confess that I'm in a church setting, and um, you know, people will cheer and yell at a football game, but um, like our brothers and sisters around the world who are suffering and not able to sing and worship like they would love to out loud, and then going to the prisons and hearing those guys just belt it out. I mean, I kind of puts Christians to shame that aren't. It's like we're not. I mean, that's not true everywhere or in every service, but it's like you just wonder sometimes, how can someone just sit there? Didn't they just hear these words about Jesus and His great love, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know I, and but you know
That's
I
right. I think we get complacent and we don't get desperate enough to be in that situation and realize
you just
what an honor it is to be able to sing and to worship freely when we
uh,
do have that opportunity.
and the people who enter in, they they feel the Lord's presence every time. I feel the Lord's presence every time. I mean, I worship and singing those words. I'm not just singing words. I'm singing what I really believe. And
Right.
and lately during our worship times, it's just seemed like it's gotten so much better, and it's like like you can just feel the Lord's presence stronger lately, and I'm, I'm I believe that's happening all over. Actually, we're going to be seeing more of that, and people just coming on fire for the Lord.
Well, I agree. I think revival is popping up in different places, and the Lord's doing that in individuals and in small groups and in churches. And He's going to be the one to awaken that. And I love worship as well. And so it's exciting for me to see when people respond and actually get it. When they hear the words of the song or they get the message and it just clicks.
Right.
I think that's really exciting, especially as a worship leader and being the one singing the songs. You want people to get it. You want it to
That's right.
resonate with them and mean something. So I totally agree. That's such a amazing feeling to be in a group like that that's all singing their hearts out. I did a
Right.
Christmas concert at the women's prison in Nashville, and
Yeah.
that was one of the best audiences I've ever had because everyone was so excited and just jumping up and down and singing from their hearts. And yeah, they were cheering like they were at a football game or something. And
Yeah.
most of the time, people will, sit in church and listen, but they might not have that strong of a reaction
Right.
like they would. And so it's exciting to see that and see people that are on fire for God and that really have nothing to lose.
Right. Yeah. Worship with abandon.
Well, before we wrap up, do you have any encouragement for writers that are just getting started and wanting to get better at their songwriting? What tips would you give for them?
Well, some of the things I've heard and tried to do is to find people who are much better than you at songwriting and hang around them. Like the jam sessions I go to, I learn by listening and watching how other people present songs. And I mean, you don't want to just get up and sing a song and just sing the words and not have passion. I mean, you got to know what the song is about. So hanging around people that are better than you at songwriting or playing an instrument that you play, and being around other songwriters, trying to co-write is something that our worship team one time at one of our practices, we just came up with words to a song together, which that turned out pretty good. And sometimes sharing your songs with people and asking their opinion. And like I was just at a songwriters conference in Harbor Springs, Michigan, that happens every year, and I really feel like I'm maybe one of the people that the least talented persons there. That's how I feel when I'm there. That because you get a guy gives you a paragraph of a song prompt, and then you have to write a song in 48 hours and then sing it in front of people. And
Oh, wow. No pressure.
no pressure, which I was able to do, but it's just people that show up there are really good guitar players or singers and really good songwriters, and they even have professional people that come and mentor you while you're there. And so I presented the song that I wrote to one of the professional people, and he showed me that I could cut out a whole part of my song because I had already said basically it was another funny song, and I was because of the song prompt I got, and so I just didn't need. He pointed some things out that I didn't need in my song, and so it made it shorter, and it made it a whole lot better. And so,
Yes, it's great to hang out with people that can encourage you and inspire you, and you can learn from them.
right.
And I've heard the same thing, and I agree. Hanging out with good quality people, with professionals, and just see the way that it's done will give you more ideas for what you can do and how you can become better. So I try to do that as well. Hang out with great writers and ask questions and just learn from how they do things.
And we get to see that at CSMI conferences too, because there's professionals that come and sing and share their songs. And Gino's songs are awesome, and
Yes, they are.
and your songs are so. In fact, I was just at a Amish family's home. I had driven them to Iowa a couple of years ago for a funeral, and while we were in the car together, I played your CD, the Lullaby CD.
Oh, wow.
And they absolutely loved it. And I recently gave them your information, and I think I have 2 copies of your CD, and I'm going to try and send it to him. And the only way he can listen to it is when someone gives him a ride, and he can play it in their player.
That's so neat.
They want it. Well, they want your. They have 3 little kids, and they want your lullaby CD. So
That's awesome. So I have Amish fans I didn't even know about.
yeah.
That is so cool. Well, thanks for sharing my music with people, and being so supportive of my music as well. It's been great to hear some of your story today. So thanks for being willing to share that with us and share some of your lyrics as well. We haven't had any writers, I think, read through their lyrics like that. So I'd like to do more of that on the show and share specifically what you've written, because I think it is inspiring to hear from other writers. And another thing we haven't done on the show is have a writing prompt for the people listening to kind of inspire them to write something. And so when you mentioned having a writing prompt and having to come back around and play it, I thought, what a great way to end this show, to give somebody a writing prompt. And this show is coming out on Christmas Eve. So in the Christmas spirit, here's the writing prompt for our listeners today. What is your favorite Christmas memory? And this can be a writing prompt for lyrics or a poem or just writing out a short story. I would encourage people to just free flow and write what comes to your mind. What is your favorite Christmas memory? And I'll ask you to answer that question as well, Richard, but I'd love to hear people's responses and see what you've written. So for those listening, if you'd like to take that prompt and write something, you can share it with us in the Rustic Songbird Writing Community Facebook group and share it with the other writers so that they can read what you've written as well. So I think that'd be really fun to hear from everybody about their favorite Christmas memory as we're in this season right now. What would you say is yours, Richard?
My favorite Christmas memory?
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, there's so many. You put me on the spot. I guess just one of them would be when my kids were little, and just seeing how excited they were, and as a young father and kind of guy that likes to get down and wrestle with the kids and play, they just the joy in seeing their reactions. And probably another favorite is when I get to see my grandkids also, their first times opening presents and stuff. And my one memory is just hilarious. We gave our son just this big bouncy ball, and it was in a big box. We thought he'd be so excited about a ball because he liked balls. Well, so he opens the ball, and then he sets the ball aside and plays with the box. He
was more excited about the box.
He thought the box was really cool. So
well, that's how it goes with kids sometimes. It's the simple things.
Yeah. I just thought of another tip for songwriting.
Great. Yeah, please share that with us.
It's just I was at a music fest in Michigan and went to a songwriting group, and what the guy would do, he'd give you 3 words and a noun, a verb, and maybe another noun. Just out of the blue, he'd pick 3 words, and then you're supposed to go write a song, and before the weekend's over, you're supposed to come back and sing it.
And it had to include those 3 words?
Yep, it had to include those 3 words. So I've heard of other people doing that, just picking 3 words and then you have to write a song using those 3 words. So that's.
Well, would you like to give us 3 random words? We can use that as well for those listening. It can be Christmas related or it can be random.
I guess memories, childhood, and Christmas. Why not? Did I say that already?
Right. So memories, childhood, and Christmas.
So kind of like what you said, like favorite Christmas memory. But
using those specific words within a song, I think that's a great place to start. And there's a lot of ways that you can turn that into a beautiful song. So thanks for sharing your ideas with us and tips for other writers and just being willing to share on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, it was great getting to talk to you, and I love you and your husband and your children, and I always love seeing you at the CSMI conferences, and I wish we did like 2 a year instead of 1.
Yeah, it's always great to see everyone
down south, and you guys could come up north.
Yeah, we'll have to get together when we're in Michigan.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, for those listening, you can connect with Richard Bair on Facebook, and he's got a song out on YouTube as well if you just search Richard Bair, and Bair is Bair. So you can connect with him online and see some more of his music on his Facebook. But thanks, Richard, for being on the show today.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a fellow writer. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you in the next episode.